Okay, we are back in the building as you know. I am Juice Wanna. This is Old York Gritty Grand Strains where we discuss the occults and all of these different phenomenons that are happening within our community, but based on scientific evidence through observation and other techniques that I will be going with you throughout these series. Now, what I'm doing now is giving you documents of what this system is that they've been fighting against since, let's say, the 1700s. But I know it to be a fight that started from around 11, around 1100, this Freemasonic part of it, right? As far as a system having its beef with um Christianity, because the fight is against Christianity, right? So it's been a fight taken on because other kingdoms, they were doing their own thing, but here go a kingdom that basically, with the help of the Greeks, right, take the Egyptian and Mesopotamian system, right? Thinking system, took it, utilized it themselves. So there's a fight to take that back. What these books is to explain to you that it's even deeper than that. And that's why I tell people dealing in Freemasonry that they don't understand that the shift in what they are really building is communism. So here goes somebody else who I forgot his name. I have it up here somewhere. Let me see. I thought I had it here. My fault. Anyway, here we go. Another person who's from the 1800s. The last book we read was Mahabone, the Master's Carpet, right? And so that was from like 1870 something. And this is around that same time frame. And these are a bunch of anti-Masons who are giving you the information of that time. And so you can go through these other systems that they mention, and from that you will be able to understand what's going on. So, oh yeah, by the way, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you and other people can know whenever I'm on air, so we can get the algorithms to say, okay, yeah, he's up there, he's doing his thing, and you're interested in what I'm saying. Now, me, myself, I also like to engage, with people. So anybody who has any questions or anything like that, I never hesitate to tell them, hey, chime in, you know what I mean? And see what's going on. So I'm gonna throw these my social media pages in here so that way everybody can know what's going on, right? So that's the Old York Gritty. Okay. Find post. All right, chapter 2. Okay. So we got that up. That's the Facebook. Let's see the YouTube. All right. Let me see. Pull you back up here. Just to make sure, right? Okay, so we got that up. So all my social media links are up. So if anybody wants to say something, as you see, it'll pop up right here on the side, and I'll know that you engaging, and we can take it from there. So, okay. This is chapter 2. Truthfulness of the divulgence established by irrefragable testimony. Knowing how the collaborators deceive honest and confined but uninformed people by boldly asserting what is not true and as boldly denying what is true. This is the whole tactic of their style, but they work in unison. I will here give testimony which will satisfy all who are intelligent and honest, and will make even Masons stand abashed. Right? Following testimony was given before the Anti-Masonic Convention, which met in Faneuil Hall, Boston, December 30th and 31st, 1829, and January 1st, 1830, by Colonel Merrick of Worcester, who testified thus. But are these disclosures true? You have expressed in terms which cannot be mistaken your your convictions on this subject. In the adaptation of the reports of one of your committees upon this subject, you have expressed that no doubt can remain that the institution of Freemasonry has been fully open to the public gaze. Is it well that you have done so? Then, after referring to a vast number of numbers who had lately testified to the truthfulness of the disclosure and to the fact that the testorial spoke from personal knowledge and are found among the educated and the humble, and bench the bar and the pulpit in the field, he adds, though I know that those disclosures are true, I feel how feeble must be the testimony here of a solidarity individual like myself when added to that great mass of proofs which the public already holds in their possession. Yet I would not that this occasion should pass without solemnly pledging myself in the midst of this crowded audience that those disclosures are substantially correct. Do I not know that this attention will arouse indigestion and create hostility which security cannot disarm, nor honesty of proposed projects from rudeness, violence, and perhaps vengeance? It will absurdly come vindictive, assertive, advisories will arise to impeach our motive and to blast our reputations, right? So you understand that they will do anything to keep their name and cleanse their name. So, when you're dealing with certain groups, right, just understand that they working in unison and to throw you under the rug, Tupac and all of that. Take a person name and run it through the mud and do everything they can to filthy it. Right? I too discern the bondage which Freemasonry has put upon me. I, with the most conscientious confined in the hallowed cause, burst away forever from the bound in which Freemasonry has held me, and I declare that as far as my knowledge of the institutions extended, the publications which I have seen of its secrets are substantially true, drawn and exhibited with the fidelity which deserves all praise and confidence, and the most odious characteristics of the oaths and obligations of Freemasonry. Those disclosures are true. It is true that the Royal Arch companions, to which degree I have been admitted, are also is termed exalted in the highest office of which I have sustained, does swear that he will expose the cause of the companion when engaged in any difficulties, so far as to extract him from the same, whether right or wrong, and that he will keep his secrets invulnerable when communicated to him as such, and he knowing then to be such, murdered, and treason not accepted. I know that these most odious and obnoxious clauses are right. He says, I know these most odious and obnoxious clauses are part of those obligations of that degree, for I believe that I have myself receive the obligations, and I know that I have so heard it, and also high priest of a chapter have so myself administrated it to others. The obligation to support the lodge which does bind have never been denied. Make that a very Allen, a Knights Templar, testify. Aubrey Allen, a Knight Templar, testifies. Right? Upon oath, before Horace Holden in the city of New York on the 28th of March 1829, as to the actions which the highest authority in Masonry took with regard to the murder of William Morgan. According to his testimony, it commanded that Morgan should be murdered and then concealed, shielded, and defended the murderers. He testified that in his hearing in St. John's Hall, New York, it was stated that Morgan deserved death and that justice had overtaken him. Further, that another Knights Templar told him that a Knights Templar told him that he knew that Morgan was dead, and further that when money was raised in the lodge to assist the murderers, especially to send Richard Howard to Europe, he then said, Knight, put 50 cents into the hat that was sent around the room for that purpose. Yet again, the deponent further saith that he conceived with a number of Masons. No, he conversed with a number of Masons whose opinions were that in case the Masons had killed Morgan, they had done an act which duty imposed, and in case any Mason, knowing who the executioner was, should expose them to the world, he would surely be Morganized. The opponent further saith that conceived with another Knights Templar who said, I Know that Richard Howard was concealed in St. John's Hall at the time his pursuers were after him in this city, New York, and that there was a good deal of money raised and many special meetings of the Masons on his account, and that they sent him across the Atlantic. The following are a few brief extracts from the annunciation and dying testimony of General Whitley, addressed by the members of his own lodge, Middletown, Connecticut, August 12th, 1813, copied from the Middletown Sentinel. I just want to stop and say, by the way, a lot of times y'all might see things in the background that makes the print more clearer. Not to give excuses to me messing up. I'm just saying, but I really stopped to tell you that we also have in a Old Jaw Gritty giveaway, right? As you see on one side is our Gritty New York, and on the other side is Old Jaw Gritty, as well as my novel, Street Scelsey Knock 'em Out the Box. It's about two brothers on opposite sides of the law who must team up together in order to find their father's killer or killers, whatever the case may be. Remember, this is a murder mystery. It takes us on a trip throughout New York City and the tri-state areas in order to track down the culprit or culprits within this crime. I can't be more descriptive. Let's see. But like I said, let's get back to this right here. Don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you can be notified whenever new content is being uploaded or whenever I go live. Brethren, feeling that the time of my departure is at hand and that I must soon appear at the bar of God, I deem it to be my duty to declare to you and the world my views concerning Masonry. I do hereby, in the presence of my God, and I trust that my appropriation, renounce my connection with all Masonic societies, in particular with your society in which I was made a Mason. If I know my own heart, I do it from an overwhelming sense of duty to my children, to society, and to God. My health and strength are not at present sufficient to enable me to give all my reasons at full length. But in the public, you in the public have a right to know what they, if not in detail, at least in substance, call to mind any and all things which have passed in the Lord since you became a member, and then ask what has been done which has been worthy of a rational mind. Lodges are said to be charitable institutions. They are so only in name. Examine your treasurer's account, and you will find that little, very little, has been devoted to charitable purposes. I am persuaded that not 1/20th part of the funds raised has been given to charitable purposes. If you will examine also the objects that have been added by your charity, you will find, I believe, that quite as much has been given to the worthy as to the virtuous and good. $5 out of 101 half of that to the unworthy. Here is Masonic charity. And even this, I am persuaded, is an overstatement. Nay, more I ever, I don't know what that is, that there is no charity in Masonry, for that they give as charity is designed to give plausibility to the lies which they tell about their system of fraud and falsehood. But listen to the dying Mason and mark his views of the system in that solemn hour. Secondly, I believe Masonry to be a prenocious institution. We know historically that lodges have been prostituted to the worst of purposes. The Masonic influence has been felt even in this country, in the jury box and on the bench, to turn justice from her course. Thirdly, Masonry is anti-republican in its nature and tendencies. The secret influence which to give men of a certain character is precious in the extreme. It is often a subject of great surprise that men of feeble talents who are devoid of principle are who are elevated to places of trust and power. It will generally be found that such men are of high standards in the lodge and exercise a great influence there. And through that influence, they are enabled to obtain some of the first stations in the government. Mark the dying testimony of this Mason. Men of feeble talents and devoid of principle are elevated to places of trust and power. How? Simply by being men of high standards in the lodge. Thus much the general knew with regard to Masonic workings in the state. But what would the general say if he were here now to behold how that same power elevates to places of trust and power in the church to just such men as he describes? Pardon me here. Right. At he describes, but we would have you still listen to the dying man, hearing him. Fourthly, but the great and deceive objection to Masonry is that it is an anti-Christian system. When we enter the lodge, the Bible is given to us as the guide to the rules of our faith. Yet the particular doctrines of the Bible are banished from the lodge. The Bible teaches that all mankind are of brethren and are entitled to all charities, but the charities of the lodge is limited to Masons and their families. The Bible says, swear not to all, but to the lodge, oath after oath of the most awful character is necessarily administrated, and that is still worse And what is still worse, the person taking those oaths is not permitted to examine them or to know anything which they contain until he has, in the presence of God, assumed the solemn vow. Though the Bible was given us as the rule and guide of our faith, yet the name of Christ is never heard in the lodge. The Bible commands us to offer all prayer to God in the name of Christ, but in the lodge, no prayer is offered in the name of this only mediator. The Bible tells us that the only way to access to the throne of Jehovah is through the astonishment of the Redeemer. But the Masons in the lodge madly rush into the presence of God without an intercessor. For one acquainted with Christianity to appear in the presence of God without a mediator is an abomination in the sight of the Lord. It is as though one offered swine flesh and human sacrifice upon the altar of the temple. God has told us there is none other name given under heaven whereby we can be saved but in the name of Jesus. But that's only in the New Testament. That is not in the Old Testament. So I don't, but I guess that's the law, whoever writes the book, right? Nonetheless. And yet, neither of the prayers used in the lodge, nor on public occasions, nor at the funeral of Masons is the name of Christ ever heard. Call to mind these facts. Reflect upon the whole character of your institution, and then ask, can it be an institution well pleasing to in the sight of God? Can those of you be of those who are professing Christianity enters your closet and on your knees ask Jehovah for Christ's sake to bless the lodge, to increase and prosper it. Such is the dying testimony of one who spake from personal knowledge. And observe, he appears not to crowing nor even to succeed Masons, but to his own lodge companions still in the lodge, and challenges them to specify one thing done in the lodge worthy of a rational mind. He boldly asserts that the system of pernicious, Christless, anti-Republican, and anti-Christian, and that its professed benevolence is downright fraud. It is evident, too, that General Whitley had but a limited view of the origin, design, character, and workings of the system as a whole, but he saw sufficient to justify those startling utterance which came to us in solemn tones almost from eternity. And he imitates that he would say much more did time and strength permit. Another testimony General Nathan heard in Colonel Gerard Burbank as a committee appointed for that purpose, applied to Penley Maverick Esquire for his testimony regarding the correctness of the Masonic degrees, lately published by Succeeding Masons. In this request, he replied at great length, and from that reply, I give the following short extract. You perceive, gentlemen, that I have spoken with great freedom of the institution of Freemasonry. I have denied the petitions to esteem which it assumes, and denounced it as unworthy of being permitted to remain as a rock of offense among us. And you might have noticed that in doing so, I have adverted the topic which could have been discussed only after a secret recess of the institution had been laid on. That has already been fully done. It is vain, useless, false to deny it. The publications prepared by William Morgan, the martyr whose life paid to forfeit of his broken obligation, disclosed all that could be disclosed of the secrets of the fraternity as far as he wrote. And since his immolations, the work has been pursued by pure and able and faithful hands until there remains little or nothing to be told. The testimony and proof of the truth of these disclosures is as full as human testimony can be, and I add in my own language to our conversation that my own testimony cannot alter it. They who will not believe believe it after a full and candid examination could not believe me, neither could they be persuaded through one should raise from the dead. But I shrink not from my responsibilities in this high and solemn cause, and at whatever hazard and in defiance of every consequences, I affirm that having myself been admitted to the degree of Royal Archmason and to the several preceding degrees as far as I have heretofore advance in the degree of Masonry as contained in the volumes published by David Bernard entitled Lights of Masonry is true, that the forms, ceremonies, lectures, and oaths contained in that book are substantially as I myself received them, and as I have again and again seen and heard them in the bodies of regular lodges and chapters communicated and administered to others. This is Worcester, December 17th, 1829. The Anti-Masonic Convention holding at Montefiore, Vermont, June 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 1830, passed the following resolution. Resolved that Masonry is now revealed to the world in all its pretensions to antiquity, right, is designed, is ceremonials, its oaths, its titles, its trappings, its sanctions, its provisions of sacred things, and its mummeries is a cheat and an imposter, foolish, wicked, dangerous, corrupt, and corrupting. We have only to add that this resolution must be endorsed by every honest person who knows what masonry is, so far as it goes, for it fails to come up to all the truths in this case. Right? Oh, that's chapter 3. Okay, so we have finished chapter 2. As you can see from this, we can hear that this system relies on good people, right? But are misinformed. So now they can offer you information that is going to misinform you again. It's going to inform you of what you are missing here, right? It'll fill those gaps, but then while it's filling those gaps, it will add in a whole new structure, building something inside your head, this new belief system. But even in that belief system, there is fault. First, due to the fact that it will be based on the truth, and then once again speculation, as you was caught the first time, right? Okay, so well, like I said, I'm about to slide up out of here so we can come right back and do chapter 3. Don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you can be informed whenever we bring new content to the table. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe so you can be close to that 200 subscriber and get this mug here, Old York Gritty, or the I Gritty New York, as well, free of charge. Both of these things will be shipped to you, no cost to you whatsoever. The Street Skelzy Knock 'em Out the Box novel. All right, so we out until next time. Peace.